Well, the reason I got into the guards was I was going to college up there in Spearfish, and several of the guys in Sturgis were going to college there too. And transportation being what it was in those days, they were having a problem getting back and forth for their guard sessions.
Stop for you.
Okay. You were asking about how I got into the guards. Mm-hmm. Like I was saying, I was going to college up there in Spearfish. I lived in Spearfish. And I was going to college there, and there were quite a few guys from Sturgis were going to college up there too. And but they needed transportation to get from Spearfish back to Sturgis for the drill night. And that was a problem, and just happened that my dad had a very good shaped Model T truck. And so we just put a canvas over the back of that and put some benches in it, and I would haul those guys down there. I think I charged them about 50 cents a shot there on that. I did that a couple of nights, and I just said, hey, I just might as well join up with these guys and get some drill pay too. So that was in 1939 sometime or another. And so I was in the guards. And that following summer, we went to encampment up at Fort Ripley in Minnesota. And then one thing led to another, and we began to get deeper and deeper in the chances of war. A lot of people said, well, you better get out now. But most of us didn't. I mean, there were a lot of really young guys in there, and they got most of those out. And I guess maybe there were several of them that were pretty much over age. But that's what we went to Louisiana with. And I had to really rack my brain to remember just how we left Sturgis. I knew it was by train, but I couldn't remember if they had a brass band down or anything like that, and they didn't. We just got on the train and went. We got down to Louisiana and started becoming soldiers. They had us for a while, for quite a long time, building a rifle and a tank rifle range down there, clearing brush and so forth, and everybody got their fill of snake bite scares and stuff like that, because that was snake country. And gradually we began to get to be better soldiers, I guess, but we were pretty much still engineers. And so we went. See, we were signed up for just a year, and nobody believed that much because Hitler was tearing things up, and the Japanese were tearing things up, and so we really didn't take that 1 year thing very seriously. And sure enough, then we got Pearl Harbor and all that kind of stuff, and we went from Camp Claiborne. That's where we were being trained. Then they took us down to Texas City in the Gulf there, where we set up guard posts around tank farms and stuff like that. And then, after they got the war going pretty good, then we came back to Claiborne, loaded up, and went up to Camp Dix, Fort Dix. And I had quite an unusual experience for a kid from a little town. Ray Wagner, who was a corporal and was enough my senior, so that he said, Behrens, get your stuff down to the orderly tent. And I said, why? He said, well, you're gonna guard that train that's going up to Dick's. I said, Ray, I don't think I want to do that. And he became very, very militant right then, and a few swear words, and he convinced me that those good old days were gone. And so Ray and some other men from other companies, I think there were 6 of us altogether, got on this train and started. We loaded right there at Claiborne. We started up for Washington D.C. and eventually the Brooklyn Army base. But when we got to New Orleans, they said, "Hey, this train is too large. We're going to have to divide it." So Ray took half the crew and I took the other crew, half. I was a private first class with a second, whatchamacallit, what do we call that?
Fogey or something?
Yeah. And so we took off, and I began to get pretty damn serious about railroading. And we got going up there, and when we divided the train, it turned out that my half of the train was going to be traveling backwards, which didn't bother us very much because we were on the caboose driving frontwards anyway. But as we got into bad weather, stuff began to drift into the backs of those trucks, and we had all of our equipment in there. So little old PFC, me, said to some railroad guy there, "Hey, we got to turn this train around." He looked at me like I was something from someplace else. He said, "Hey, what are you talking about? You know what we'll have to do to turn that around?" And I said, "I don't care, we got to turn it around." And that son of a gun got it all arranged, so we turned that train around and we were headed into the storm. And I think that would have, for a PFC to pull off something like that, I thought that was, I was kind of proud of that for a long time.
Yeah.
But anyway, we got to up there to the Brooklyn Army base and got the stuff unloaded, and eventually, of course, we were around there. This darn Camp Dick's place was miserable. It was World War I stuff. Probably had been a CC thing. Were you there?
Yeah.
Okay, you know all about that. And it seemed like we had everybody jammed in there so tight in those tents, and about every night a tent would burn down, and somebody said, "Hey, any more of these tents burn down, you're going to have to go into barracks." That night was a conflagration. And we did go into barracks up there. I don't know why they had not done that before.